As we also look at the conflict as well, I mean, surely one of the biggest problems Israel has in communicating her message of desiring to want to live peace, wanting to pursue peace, is that Israel has two different audiences. One trying to reach out to a more sympathetic audience in the United States, in Britain, also in Europe, with a softer, kinder message, but at the same time having major problems within the Middle East and wanting to appear to be strong and to ensure that Israel then has a deterrent capabilities. Don't attack us, we're strong. So how does Israel balance those two very difficult audiences we're trying to convey a message to those prospective public areas of public opinion?
I'd make it worse. I think there's a third audience, which is domestic public opinion. In other words, as we speak, and as I left Israel, we had a barrage of 25, 30 missiles landing. We had kids running to the bomb shelters in Beersheba as Islamic Jihad is firing missiles from Gaza. The message at home has to be to the Israelis, the government is dealing with your security matters. In other words, the Israeli government is also answerable to its own electorate. That, if you like, is perhaps audience number one. Now, there's a problem, because if in order to, which Israel is doing, guarantee the security of its own people, it shoots at someone about to launch a missile at Beersheba, at Sderot, at other towns. You have 1 million Israelis, by the way, under fire today from Gaza alone. If we take out those people firing those rockets, and that doesn't make good TV, or that isn't good for a liberal public opinion, should we do it or not do it? Are we looking at saving lives? Are we looking at guaranteeing that Israeli kids can get on buses without being killed? Or are we looking at, well, would France approve, or the British government approve, or anyone else approve? And I think that there's a double standard here, which is that the Israeli government is judged in a way that no one else is judged. Israel, like every other government, has the right to protect its own people against violence, against threats, and to guarantee that we can go to work and live a regular life like anyone else in the country. So I think that's the issue with audiences.
But doesn't that also pose the dilemma that Israel's facing? That Israel's facing threats from Hezbollah in the north and from Hamas, both sponsored by the Iranian government, that Israel's facing asymmetric warfare.
I agree with you.
Terrorists decide to launch missiles in highly dense population. They then cover their tracks by hiding amongst in schools, firing missiles from mosques. So then if Israel then retaliates and there's a high level of casualties on the other side, then Israel is condemned politically through the United Nations, the British government, the European Union, the United States. And also then Israel loses the media war as well, because you have a huge media interest condemning Israel, which erodes Israel's moral authority and standing in the world.
Simon, I think it's even worse, which is the situation is that Israel values life, whereas many of its opponents values death. They see death as a means of going towards paradise and a higher life. So we're fighting people who are not scared to die. But I think you touch on an important point, which is the concept of we are trying to fight guerrilla armies who are launching missiles provided to them by Iran, from schools, from hospitals. Next, they use children as human shields. Israel does everything to try and prevent casualties on the civilian sides. We've dropped leaflets warning the bombing's coming. Well, there's a whole unit, by the way, in the Israeli army which telephones people to say we're about to bomb. I mean, how crazy is that? That's the context of it. Yet at the same time, there's something else which is, I think, even more complicated, which is Israel can't afford to depict itself as a dangerous place. Because if we depict ourselves as a dangerous place, tourists aren't going to come. So it's not only home market, it's not only Western governments. You've got another industry which is important, which is the tourist industry. Now, if we talk about advocates for Israel, the number one thing you can do to advocate for Israel is to come and visit Jerusalem, come and visit the sites, come and visit the place where Jesus walked, because that is the answer to every attempt at attacking Israel.
Couldn't agree more. I had a honeymoon there. So
where did you go on your honeymoon?
All over Israel, from staying in Tel Aviv and then up to the north in the Galilee, around the Sea of Galilee, which is beautiful, the Golan Heights and the Hula Valley, and then down to Jerusalem and celebrate Rosh Hashanah in Herzliya, and back to Jerusalem again, then Dead Sea. So yeah, it's nice to hire a car and see.
It's an amazing place. You know, it's a
fantastic place.
It's the only place where it's snowing in the north, and at the same time, you know, there's sunbathing in the south. And I think that's another perception of media which is problematic. People think of Israel as a war zone. The reality is, most people get up in the morning, go to work, will enjoy their free time on a Sunday and a Saturday, etc., like any other country as well. So the news story you're seeing is also inaccurate in what everyday life of Israel is actually like.
Yeah. Maybe one of the answers to one of the problems Israel faces is this is something I feel very passionate about, is the need for Israel to have her own international news channel. Instead of allowing others like the BBC, Sky, ITN to carry Israel's narrative, by having her own channel, should be able to put her own voice across and her own story across.
There's a strong argument for that Israel should invest in a channel which is more pro-Israel, etc. There's a double standard that the media has towards Israel. And we see it even without a channel, which is when Israel provides news stories, it's considered as propaganda. When Palestinians provide news stories, it's considered an interesting news story. So I'm not sure how, if there was a channel which was labeled Israeli television in English, by the way, there's the IBA in a limited way, but it's not international, whether that would be seen just as a form of propaganda, and therefore people would switch off. Second of all, on that issue, I think it's interesting is there's this conception of Israel having millions upon millions of dollars in order to spend on its public relations. I don't know if when you were on honeymoon in Israel you had a yogurt at its breakfast. There's a well-known brand in Israel of yogurt which has more money to advertise its yogurt in Israel than the whole of the foreign ministry does to advertise Israel itself. What Israel is using, which I think is a change in the last 5 years, is a new weapon, a secret weapon, which is taking new media, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Twitter, whether it's YouTube, where today the next generation is spending most of their time, and using that as a tool. And that's something which advocates, whether Christian or Jewish or Muslim, who want to advocate for Israel can really be effective. They just need to open up a laptop and upload something. Show a film. Even just commentate themselves, have their own shows. That is possible today. I don't want to put you out of business.
Probably will do.
That's a part of the new media, I think, is a part of the new way that people are getting their news, and people can be involved in Israeli advocacy.
Yeah, no, we've got such a clip to show you now. This is called Israel, What is Right with the Middle East.
The Middle East stands at a fateful crossroads, for an epic battle is now underway between tyranny and freedom. And like all of you, I pray that the peoples of the region choose the path less traveled, the path of liberty. Israel has always embraced this path. In a region where women are stoned, gays are hanged, Christians are persecuted, Israel stands out. It is different. We have a free press, independent courts, an open economy. Courageous Arab protesters are now struggling to secure these very same rights for their peoples, for their societies. We're proud in Israel that over 1 million Arab citizens of Israel have been enjoying these rights for decades. Of the 300 million Arabs in the Middle East and North Africa, only Israel's Arab citizens enjoy real democratic rights. I want you to stop for a second and think about that. Of those 300 million Arabs, less than 0.5% are truly free, and they're all citizens of Israel. This startling fact reveals a basic truth. Israel is not what is wrong about the Middle East. Israel is what is right about the Middle East.